The Maine People Podcast, available everywhere. Click subscribe so you never miss an episode. My friend Kyle is the owner of one of the most recognizable clothing brands in the state besides LL Bean, and he's wearing his own shirt right now if you want to show everybody one of them, because Catalyst for Change is also the Just a Kid from Maine shirts and sweatshirts and hats and everything else. Welcome to the Maine People Podcast. Thanks very much. Celebrating your 6th anniversary now. Congratulations.
Yeah. No, we just celebrated 6-year anniversary of Just a Kid from Maine, and just under 7 for the brand CFC Wear. So it's been funny how fast that's gone. But yeah, just about 7 years almost.
I mean, has the growth surprised you? People of Maine love to say that they're from Maine, so it's not a surprise to me.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it is. I was saying this to someone a couple months ago on a podcast that I knew. Noah Bissell from Bissell Brothers. He has a podcast, and we were both talking about it because we knew each other from 2007 to now. And it's just really funny to see, like, right when they were starting their beer journey and I was doing clothing 2009, 2010. We both were like, it was like at the beginning of our stories, and they ascended immediately. And it took me a really long time, a lot of time, trying things, trying different avenues, designs, what I wanted the brand to be, figuring it out. So when it did actually happen, I actually thought that we would see no growth, that it was just kind of like a flash in the pan type thing. But it really wasn't. We just kind of kept our foot to the gas, and we just kept producing new designs and doing more and selling more and doing more charitable work and the people we work with. And, fast forward to now, and it's been really nice, steady growth for about 6-7 years. And the people who have followed us from the beginning are like lifelong supporters, and they do just as good a job, if not better, in marketing our stuff than traditional marketing or new wave marketing, which is social media. So it kind of, it worked in our advantage that we started when we did, because now there's actual fans of a brand as opposed to just people who follow a certain brand that might pop up, through their newsfeed on social media,
Well, there's a lot. Once you buy one thing, there's everything else comes up on on your news feed.
Yeah, I've said this publicly. I refuse to do that. Like if you and I say LL Bean, you know what? Actually, you said LL Bean at the beginning. I'm probably going to get an ad on my Instagram feed for LL Bean.
Yeah,
I refuse to do that. I will not do that to people. We have a mailing list. You get 2 emails a month from us. We don't spam you with emails. I don't do like paid advertisements. I don't do any of that stuff. Like, we haven't spent money on advertising in, I think, 3 years. Beginning of COVID, 3 years. So we haven't spent money on advertising in 3 years. So
you created a brand. We'll take a look at some of your shirts and sweatshirts and stuff. You've created a brand certainly that people love to come back to. Obviously, I'm sure you have a lot of regular and returning customers just to see everything that you have to offer. Because for CFC Wear and the Just a Kid from Maine shirts, it's everything from summertime to skiing or anything in between. And you made something that didn't really exist in the state before. You should be really proud of that.
Yeah, I am. And it's really funny because prior to Just a Kid from Maine, I had never put words on a shirt, which is the weirdest thing. Prior to that, it was all, abstract art or something that an artist would do. And that's a really long story. I mean, when I started, it was 2008. I mean, it was the height of the douchiest clothing anybody could wear. Like, it was like Ed Hardy, it was like skater wear, and there was just tons of colors. And I remember when I started, I still have the shirts in my basement till this day. The first shirts I ever did are unbelievably bad. Unbelievably bad. And,
well, soon you'll be able to bring them back as vintage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. But no, I remember when we did Just a Kid from Maine was a thing that started through a conversation a friend and I had. He is now a professional soccer coach. I believe in the Colorado area. And at the time, he was the head coach of Bates Soccer. And we did a fundraiser for a kid who had lost his father on 9/11 who played for Bates. And afterwards, we were having a conversation, and he said something to the effect of, I didn't have shoes when I was a kid, and now, I'm just a kid from wherever he's from, and now I'm a head soccer coach at Bates. And as I was driving home that night, I was at a point where the business was starting to pick up a little bit, and I was kind of tired of, and I was kind of tired of my entire life when I was either playing football or I was in New York playing football or just traveling around. There's that weird joke that everybody says where you tell them you're from Maine and they're like, oof, like, what do you do there? Like, do you have running water? Do you have electricity? And it's like,
yeah, cold all the time.
It's like, cold. Like, why would you live there? And, and my friends too, like I had friends that were like doing music and running their own businesses, and we were doing things and, changing not only like the main business landscape, but also, the countries. And it was just something I didn't even think about. It was the simplest font, just boom, 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 made it. And I just threw it on my Instagram and like left my phone for the night, I think. And came back the next day, and the rest is history, as they say. I mean, it was just like something so simple, but it just struck a chord with so many people. Tongue in cheek, if you want it to be. It could be a point of pride if you want it to be. And, we did the numbers before the 6th year. And it's like one in every, I think like 42 people in Maine has one.
Wow.
They've gone to like 50, 60 countries. I mean, like every continent. And it's just been like this flagship thing for us. So it's funny, the things sometimes you think the less about or the least about as far as design and what you want to say. Sometimes if it's just what you're feeling at the moment and you put it out, sometimes that connects better than trying to plan something out long term.
But each item sold, there's a charitable aspect to different charities that you roll through.
Yep. So right now we have been working, I think, for the better part of 4 years with Maine Children's Cancer Program, which is right off Route 1 in Scarborough, and American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, the Maine chapter. AFSP is a national organization, but they have a Maine chapter that's run by just a handful of folks. And the suicide prevention and awareness and the mental health aspect of what we do is kind of how we got our start. That was the first charitable item I ever did in 2013. And that really struck a chord with a lot of people, myself included. It was a very personal admission/story for me. And that was when it got my wheels going, that clothing can be fun. It can be all these things that we've made it, but it also can be a tool for spreading a message, raising funds. And I think that's really where we've been for the past 8 years. It's just been everything we do. It sits under that charitable thing. If we have a group that comes to us and they want to do a specific shirt, we'll do something with them. I mean, we've worked with probably 40 charities, 50 charities through the years.
Wow.
So it's a fun way to raise funds for something, or to give attention to something that might otherwise not have the attention. And so clothing is the best way to do that. I think it tells a story. It's a conversation starter. So that's the part that I think as more time goes on, I'm very fulfilled by that aspect of it, because the first 5 years of me doing clothing, it was just clothing. There was no story, there was no charitable aspect. So that's definitely one of the things I'm most proud of, for sure.
Well, if you want to talk about the story a little bit, I'd love to, because this image I saw that you shared on social media recently, I thought was pretty impactful and powerful. It's just an image of you sitting against a wall, but there's a ghostly person, next to, and with a hand on the shoulder. And I just thought that was a really powerful image to represent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those photos we shot probably 5 or 6 years ago with a really great photographer, Dave Butler, and he's really good. That photo is me and myself, and that's obviously another version of me, consoling me, kind of representing the battle people have with stress, with depression, day to day, anything. 2013, 2014, I went through a very rough patch in my life. I lost, my grandfather who basically raised me, a best friend of mine from college. Business wasn't working. Things weren't going well. It was something that really kind of hit me all at once because my entire life I was always the football player, the jock, the happy-go-lucky guy, not somebody you would ever think would have any type of depressive thoughts or things like that. So I remember when we did the suicide awareness hoodie, that was also accompanied with my story of, hey, I was in a very dark place a year ago. This is kind of my story and it can happen to you, or maybe it is happening to you, but you just don't want to say anything. And I remember specifically at the time, I always will tell this story. There were so many people around me that were like, don't talk about this. Don't talk about this. It's going to hurt your brand. There was TV interviews that I would do where I would have to edit my language. Like I couldn't say certain things. Couldn't say like suicide. You know what I mean? I couldn't even say that. They would tell me not to say this stuff. And, now years later, this is like 9 years, almost a decade of doing this
Wow.
big campaign every year and always talking about it. And yes, things have gotten better. People are more open. You got professional athletes, you got musicians talking about their mental health and how important it is, especially in the last 3 years with all the stress and all the stuff that people have been through. It's more important now more than ever, especially if you're a guy. Guys, for some reason, have a very hard time talking or telling someone if they're struggling. So that image is one of my favorites because it's at a time when I was in a very tough spot in life mentally. And it was just, there was a gentleman who we met through a campaign that we do called Warrior Stories, which is we take black and white photos of anybody that wants to come in and talk about something they've overcome. And this gentleman came in, great guy. He had become a seasonal regular, meaning like he would come in before he went up to ski for the winter. And we just knew him. He was just somebody we got to meet in passing. Unfortunately, he left us a few weeks ago. And then somebody who was very well known in Central Maine, who I did not know personally, but a lot of folks near where I grew up knew of this gentleman. And he also died by suicide about a week and a half ago. And then, of course, everybody saw, I think it was Ellen DeGeneres' DJ had died by suicide. So it was like this very, those were two things for me. And then everybody else was talking about it. So I was kind of like, let me just put this up as a reminder. I know it's not September. I know it's not, it's right before the holidays. But I think without saying anything, that image says a lot. To be kind to yourself, to give yourself time, make sure you're talking to people, make sure you're checking in on friends. I always try to, always, anybody who knows me, you can talk to, a lot of the same people I know. They can tell you, like, it is a consistent with me. It's always a checking in, and it might seem like I'm, asking too much or being annoying, but there is going to be one time where you ask somebody how they're doing and they're not going to say I'm fine. And that's what you need to be there for. Flip side with me, I just have accepted that I'm not a negative person, I'm a very positive person, but I do succumb to stress and, depressive thoughts quite often because I'm a business owner and you can get stressed a lot.
It's hard.
And
you're running a small business.
Yeah. Especially in the winter in Maine. I mean, I've talked to so many small business owners about this. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, it is a lot to deal with, especially in the last 3 uncertain years. It's just a lot. And there have been times where I've dipped and I've come back up and I've dipped. But the most important thing that I've learned is it's okay to do that. Everybody does that. You just gotta have like a plan in place, whether it's like talking to someone specifically, speaking to a family member, a loved one, saying it on social media so you can get like positive feedback from people. The worst thing you can do is what I used to do, which was just like hide away and not say anything. That's when those thoughts can come, and that's when it can get, bad. So each time I think we've made progress with how much we talk about it, you'll hear a story like the stories I heard last week. And it's just like, we were in here talking about it. It's like, man, like, God damn, the guy, he seemed so great. He seemed like he's so full of life, and you think like, what more could I have done? And it's just, I don't know, so I think in the meantime, all we can do is continue to talk about it and make ourselves available,
And part of that honesty has helped your brand be really real to people. And I know you don't do it for the brand, but that honesty sort of draws people and connects them to you and what you do. It's part of the overall picture, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's why I always try to, especially on Instagram, I Facebook not as much anymore, but I always try to, like, I sit right here and I do the videos with my ring light, and it's I always try to make sure that people know that I'm a human behind the brand. You know what I mean? That if you like call me or you call the store, or you get in touch with Alex or anybody else in here, that you're talking to a human who's going to try to do whatever it needs to be done, that you're happy with your order or whatever it might be. It just so you know that, it's a person, even like on our website, if you go into the chat, most websites have like a bot that helps you with stuff.
Sure.
I don't do that. Like it's either me or Alex or somebody else writing you back. Like, it's like, I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night, I'll be in there writing back to somebody or on my phone. And I think that matters. I think it goes a long way. To me, it does anyway. Like when I've had that experience, with other brands, I'm like, wow, like that's, just anything positive that happens at a restaurant or a bar or at a store or wherever I go. Like if I have like one thing where I'm just like, man, like that person was so inviting or so nice or whatever it might be, that sticks with me. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean about responding to people too, because sometimes people don't expect it. I'll get messages on the weekend or in the evening or something to the radio station's Facebook page or something at WPOR, and I'll respond and not think anything of it. And typically the response I get back is, "Wow, I can't believe you responded on a Saturday afternoon. Yep. I'm really sorry for bothering you." I'm like, well, if it was a bother, I wouldn't have responded. I responded because I wanted to. So. Speaking of the store, we'll take a look inside the store in a second, Kyle, and we'll talk a little bit about the money trail and the way that CFC Wear, Just a Kid from Maine, is in print in more ways than one, if it's still in print. We'll find out. First, a message from one sponsor, chubbydogcoffee.com. Check out chubbydogcoffee.com and get all kinds of coffee. You can get it with the beans. You can get it ground. chubbydogcoffee.com. Use the promo code BELLA and take 15% off your first order at chubbydogcoffee.com. All made right here in New England, and you can check it out. You sign up for the email, sign up for the membership, and you can get, I get 4 bags a month here in the house. You get however many bags you want delivered right to your house. You get an email every month that tells you, here's what we have for fresh coffee this month. You choose which ones you want. They show up at your doorstep. It's easy. Promo code BELLA at chubbydogcoffee.com, and you'll get 15% off your first order and more. And a look inside the store with Kyle coming up on the Maine People Podcast.
The way my dad brought me up was always to work hard and to treat people well.
You ready to go for a ride?
We try to keep our goal to make people feel comfortable buying their cars and feel comfortable with the people they're working with.
Nice. Oh, it looks good over here.
So become part of our family. We really mean that. Without question, we're in this together.
We're going to take care of you and treat you like your family anyways.
This looks awesome.
Yankee Ford has so many people willing to help and make this tough time a little bit easier.
Radio207.com only plays original country music from Maine singers, songwriters, and bands. Streaming online and on your smart speaker. Radio207.com is on the air now. Radio207.com. Only Maine, only country music. Your next online event can be perfect thanks to virtualproductionsgroup.com. The Maine People Podcast couldn't happen without them, and they can make your remote streaming event absolutely technically perfect. High quality live and pre-recorded productions for corporate events, weddings, tournaments, charities, and more with virtualproductionsgroup.com. Maine People Podcast with my friend Kyle, who is sitting inside of its brass wall. Can you, in front of the hedge that's not real, it's very Nashville based. Can you show us the rest of it with the sign up above too? Because like if you go anywhere in Nashville, you'll see you'll see one of these for a photo opportunity. And there you great behind the scenes look for everything.
Yeah. Actually,
nice.
This is one of my favorite things too. We had an artist do this mural. So when you come to the store, there's like this 10-foot tall mural you can stand in front of and do all that stuff. And where I'm from, Smithfield, over there on the side. But yeah, the store is fully, I guess a little bit stocked, more stocked than it should be right now, I guess.
I had a video that we were going to show of inside the store, but I guess you could give us a walk around while we've got you mobile right here.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, when we came in here, we wanted it to be like very campy, like very much like stepping into a Maine camp. So I think this used to be a pizza place, Union Street Pizza, I think it was called.
What?
So we put some walls up, and we have everything in here. We just have the fun stuff to take pictures in front of, like hats, things like that, different things. This was a bar when we first opened. Because the idea was when people came in here, we were going to just give out beer or drinks or whatever, because who doesn't want to have a beer while they shop? And then right before we installed the beer lines, COVID hit. So then we were like, we're not going to do that. so if you come in here and you ask for a drink, you might still get one. But yeah, it's big enough. It's a little small, but it's big enough. And then out back is where we make everything. We have 2 presses. We ship everything out back. We have dark rooms out back. We have a photo setup where we do all of our photography in house. So yeah, it's funny because it's kind of like the store of my dream, or the facility of my dreams, because when I like 4 or 5 years ago, before we had the ability to do all this, I was always like outsourcing things and having other people print stuff. And when we started printing our own stuff, and then when we started taking photos of our own stuff, I mean, there are days where if you have an idea, like 10 minutes later, you can print it and take a picture of it. And then if you think it's good, you can put it out to the world. Whereas a decade ago, there was like 3 or 4 channels I had to go through to get that done. So it's really fun to be able to see something that's low in the store. Like right now I'm looking, and we need more unisex small shirts before Wednesday morning. So it's like, all right, I'll go tomorrow. I'll get in here after a dentist appointment, which I'm so pumped about. And I'll print like, 20 or 25 more small shirts, just a kid, Maine love, local, whatever it might be. So it's really cool to be able to make things right in the store, which is nice. Oh yeah, this was the grand opening weekend. I've seen this video in forever. Oh yeah,
yeah.
I love it.
Your Facebook page for your store is a treasure trove of photos and videos. So,
there's tons of stuff on there. Yeah.
How's the state of Maine for a small business starting up like yours and continuing? Is the state helpful in any way to helping a small business get?
No, they are. No, they are. They have a lot of resources. I will say, Maine, I think, is unique in a sense of, because it is such a small state by numbers, a lot of people know a lot of the same people, and it is a very supportive, support local first type place. I mean, you would know this better than anybody. 2, some states you go to don't have that home state pride. And so initially out of the gate, people are very supportive in Maine with making sure that they're supporting local, they're spreading your message. So it's helpful in that regard. State of Maine, I never really went through. I know there is a lot of resources through the state, small business administration stuff that you can go and you can have your questions answered, whether that's figuring out if you want to start an LLC, a DBA, an S Corp, whatever it might be, taxes, all that fun stuff. So yeah, there is I haven't used them too much, but I have friends that have used them and they've said great things about it. For me, because I didn't just start like the night before Just a Kid from Maine started. I had been working on this part-time for probably 8 years before that happened. It was a lot of side jobs, hustles, trying this, trying that. a lot of screw ups, more screw ups than victories. So then when Just a Kid did happen, I was very aware of the moment that I was in, and I realized that you couldn't pay for that kind of viral marketing at that time. And with that exposure and the people wanting to work with us at that time, I was like, well, we have to build out the brand as such, and make people see other things that we do, not just rely on this one thing. And now, yes, it is a flagship, and there are wholesale accounts that we have that only order Just a Kid from Maine. But there are other wholesale accounts that we have, like there's one in Booth Bay Harbor, that only orders fishing stuff. And I love that, 'cause that's all I really like to do. But it's really just we try to do as much as we can so that there is something for everyone. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know quite yet. I think 20 years from now, hindsight, I'll be able to be like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But you'd be hard pressed to not find something that would fit any type of person that has any type of interest on our website, which I think is a positive thing. So
there'll be a link in the comments and on the post for cfcwear.com. I want to ask you about the book that was printed. I know it was a year or two ago.
Oh, this one? This one right here?
Oh, yeah. Okay, it is still in print. Great. You answered my next question.
Yep. So I was at Husson for 3 years, 2.5 years. And then I transferred up to University of Albany to play football. And then quickly realized that it was way too much work. Division I was way too much. Came back to Husson, finished out. But my first 2 years at Husson, there was a guy there, Matt Mulligan, who went there to play basketball. And huge guy. I mean, still to this day, one of the biggest. You should actually have him on your podcast. Still to this day, one of the biggest people, strongest people I've ever been around. And that's, I mean, he looks like the Russian from Rocky, but bigger. And we would make fun of him all the time for playing basketball. We're like, dude, you look like, why are you not playing football? He didn't have football where he grew up. He went to, where did he go? Howland, I think. And he just walked onto the football team, and it was literally like I'll never forget this, the first day he ran like a flag route in practice. The starting tight end at the time looks at me and he goes, well, I'm never playing again. Because he was just natural.
This is just a walk-on.
He was just natural. Like, and then it was literally like 2 weeks later, Division I school started coming to scout him. He played 1 season with us. He went to UMaine. I think he played 2 years at UMaine, and then a year later, or right after that he was done, he signed a free agent contract with the Dolphins, and then made a 10-year NFL career out of being like a powerhouse tight end in the NFL. The only Mainer to ever catch a touchdown from Tom Brady. I'm sure that will never happen ever again. And now he runs a very successful, gigantic gym up in the Bangor area. He was the strength coach for the Commanders before COVID, and then he was a strength coach for UMaine. Now he just does his gym, which is basically a lot of the guys go there. And his wife, Steph Mulligan, owns McSee Books, which is what this book came out under. And she's written a ton of brilliant Maine-themed children's books. And they're friends of ours. They just reached out to me and asked if they could use the trademark Just a Kid for Maine. And the book is his story. And I'm actually in the book on one of these pages. I don't know there I am. But it's a great book. It's a quick read. I'm not sure if you can see this, but there, 88. Yeah, I had a shaved head at the time, but yeah. And the guy who drew it used to do Beavis and Butthead. He used to do Marvel Comics. So it's pretty impressive. And it's really cool. It's like a nice thing for kids to see that are from small towns in Maine that want to not just necessarily play football professionally, because that's really hard to do, but anything they want to do. The story is basically what the Just a Kid from Maine thing is. Like, yes, you can be from a town of 500 people and do something great, especially now with how we're talking. I mean, we're doing an interview over a laptop on the internet. You know, like you could. Right. There are ways for you to find out how to do everything. You know what I mean? We didn't have that. I didn't have that when I was a kid, like at all. So it's funny. At least once a week, I will YouTube how to do a specific effect for a piece of art, Illustrator art, Photoshop art. And within 10 minutes, I'm just sitting there going, how would I have ever known this prior to YouTube? You know what I mean? Like, it's at your fingertips. Yeah, it's
weeks
literally
of
at
research somewhere. You'd have to talk to people. Nobody wants to do that.
Library card. Yeah, talk to people. Yeah, talk to people with your mouth. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, no, but that is still in print. I think they just did a reorder of them too. You can find them. I think they're at Books A Million. I think they're at like any coffee shop. Any coffee shop
store, maybe.
Yeah.
Any store in the Biddeford Mills that you can think of that might stock it.
Like
you.
I know the main souvenir shop in Portland does. I know Books A Million in South Portland does. In Biddeford,
Kyle, you missed my point. You stock it.
Oh, you stock it.
you have it.
Hey, we have the books here, guys. They are actually signed by Matt himself. So if you want the last 5 that we have, we're open Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 12 to 6 here at Catalyst Changeware. Sorry, I nailed it that time.
Oh my God. I can't believe I had to push you for that.
I'm sorry. It's been a long day. I'm drinking a Monster at 6:00 at night. So that's how my day's going right now. So
I'm drinking this.
Oh man, I didn't know if it was acceptable. I was actually gonna crack a beer, but I didn't want to be.
Well, it is to me.
Be that guy. Yeah. Cheers to you. I'm gonna be right behind you, bud.
Thanks so much for being on the Maine People Podcast. I really appreciate you and what you do and what you do for the people, because you let people wear their pride for the state right on their chest. There's a look inside the store, and I want to thank you again for being on. You want to get some of Kyle's stuff? Get the link right in the comments and everything, and find out cfcwear.com. So thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.